Joining us now from the Liberal Democrat conference in Birmingham is the Energy Secretary, Chris Huhne. On this question of the euro, Chris Huhne, do you still subscribe to the view that you once held, that the euro is living up to the highest expectations of the economists who advocated it, and Britain is missing out?
Clearly not, Jeremy, but one thing that I think is very clear is that if you are like Greece, a country that has falsified your national accounts, in this case in order to get into the euro area, even if you were outside the euro area, there would be a real day of reckoning. And all that would happen if the Greeks had their own currency is that they would be facing a Latin American-style hyperinflation with a massive devaluation. And that's not an easy way out either. So the reality is that the problems that are besetting Greece
shouldn't have joined it. Would have been a huge mistake.
Ones which predated the euro area.
It would have been a huge mistake for us to have joined the euro, wouldn't it?
I think it was a huge mistake for the Greeks to join, knowing as they did.
I'm not talking about the Greeks.
Their
I'm
national
asking.
accounts were.
Sure, I'm asking whether it would have been a mistake for us to join, and clearly it would, wouldn't it?
Clearly, if you look at the number of countries that have joined, there is a commitment to making the euro work, which I think we would underestimate at our peril.
So you don't think it would have been a
mistake? Right the way through European Union history, from the 1950s onwards, British people have consistently underestimated the extent of the political will on the European mainland to actually get these sort of problems together. Now, the
yes or no, should we have joined the euro as you advocated? Yes or no?
Clear question of joining the euro is clearly not one for the UK. We're out of the euro and that issue is settled. But all I'm saying to you is that if we start
I'm trying to get a straight answer to whether you think it would have been a good thing to join or not, and clearly you don't.
You've got a very straight answer, which is that we have consistently underestimated what goes on in the eurozone in terms of the political willingness to get these solutions together. That's the answer to another question. That wasn't the one question I asked. The question I asked you is whether you still think it would have been a good thing to have joined the euro. Yes or no? Frankly, the issue has not been a live one in British politics for a long time. If we had joined the euro, it might have been a very different beast. The key issue today is whether or not Greece should have joined the euro, and the answer to that is clearly no.
Let me try something else on you.
Provided false figures to the European Commission in order to get in. And whatever the monetary system in Greece, there would have been a problem.
You've made that point. Can I try something else out on you? When you said today that we do not want a Tea Party tendency in Britain, were you referring to any members of the Cabinet when you made that accusation?
No, I'm talking about the...
Who are you talking about?
What we're seeing on the Conservative right, a number of
cases... Who are they, please?
These are... Well, you've just been quoting on your own programme some backbenchers who are talking about trying to renegotiate our existing treaty obligations within the European Union. This is, after all, the Eurozone takes half of our
exports. About how many are there of them? Is it Bill Cash and a few friends?
Well, this is a significant number, and there are people who are putting pressure on the government to try and come to a set of conclusions which, to my mind, would be deeply against our national interest. When we have a fundamental interest in the success of the European Union, half of our exports go to the Eurozone. These aren't political choices. This is a geographical reality. We sell more to Ireland alone, which is a member of the Eurozone, than we do to Brazil, India, and China put together.
We're familiar with the arguments. I'm just trying to find out who you're speaking.
I'm not sure that you are familiar with the arguments.
Your peroration was apparently directed at Bill Cash and a few like-minded souls on the Tory backbenches. That's what your peroration was directed at.
We've had two examples recently where it seems to me that there's been an attempt to move the centre of gravity within the government away from the agreement which we made in the coalition deal, which was very clear about Europe, which is that we don't go forward, but we don't go back either. And if we're going to try and have people in the Conservative Party saying that we're going to unpick our European relationships when they're so fundamental to our prosperity, to our growth,
have
to
no
our
voice
exports,
in the Cabinet,
then that is going to be a problem for us, the Liberal Democrats.
And you would agree with Lord Oakeshott that it would be a deal breaker, wouldn't it?
Well, I wouldn't go as far. Lord Oakeshott chooses his own words on this. But what I am saying is that we have the basis of a compromise, which was hammered out in the coalition agreement, and we're not about to unpick that. We want to respect the coalition agreement. And the point that I was making in my speech is that we've achieved, through the deficit reduction and the credibility that we've gained in government since the election, we've got out of the economic danger zone that has affected so many other countries with bigger
Let's talk about the deficit plan. Now, there's talk tonight of there being an additional £5 billion somehow found to be spent on capital investment in infrastructure projects. Is that true?
I have I don't recognise that figure at all, and I have absolutely no knowledge of that, so it would be news to me.
Do you recognise any figure? Is there a plan to free up billions of pounds? There is no such plan.
What there clearly is a desire right the way across the government to make sure that we're putting forward as creatively and imaginatively as we can ideas to get growth going. But the fundamental achievement which we've made so far, which is to get that deficit coming down and to persuade the financial markets that we are a safe haven and not the sort of risk which they've seen in Ireland and Portugal and Spain and Italy and Greece, that's fundamental. Because if our interest rates start rising like theirs, we will be in a double-dip recession. And we have saved the country from that. We now need to build on that.
Unlike them, of course, they're in the Eurozone and we're not. But specifically on this question...
Well, it's not just the Eurozone. As you see from today's IMF forecast, you've had a downgrading of growth in the United States.
The countries you've just mentioned
and the failure of compromise that I gave as an example in my speech was actually in the United States.
Was there anything...
where the failure to compromise between the President and Congress actually has led to the downgrading of the United States credit standing. And I don't want to see
anything
us
like
go through
this
that.
plan, £5 billion you say you don't recognise, has anything like this been discussed in Cabinet and agreed upon?
No.
Nothing at all?
No.
Has anything like this been discussed and agreed upon in the last couple of days, say?
No. Well, certainly not that I'm aware of.
So this story is a fiction.
We do have a growth review process where we're attempting to come up with pragmatic ways in which we can get the economy growing and make sure that we're getting the jobs coming back and getting back on that path to recovery. We've done the serious heavy lifting of reducing the deficit and getting out of the danger zone. We've now got to move forward into the positive agenda of stimulating growth and making sure that we're getting jobs coming back. But I don't recognise anything of the story that you've given to me.
Chris Huhne, thank you very much.